let's move on now to MPE then. So what is it? This is going to be a little bit of a shorter discussion than I was planning. Maybe it's just going to have to be a sort of brief kind of intro to it right now. And to be honest, like I said, I haven't used MPE myself. And when I saw that it was like the #2 new feature in Ableton, and lots of other DAW users were like, oh, finally, Live has MPE support. I thought, yeah, okay. As far as I was aware, MPE only came out in 2017 with the Rolly keyboard, but maybe it was out before then. But when I saw the Rolly keyboard, if any of you weren't there at the beginning of the live stream when I was talking about it, MPE is the thing that it's sort of MIDI data, I don't know what you call it, protocol that is transmitted when you play one of these squishy Rolly Seaboard keyboards, where your fingers can move in multiple directions. They can go, first of all, you can hit the keys as hard as you like, just like a regular keyboard. You can press into the keys because they kind of squidge in, a bit like aftertouch on a regular keyboard. So that's where the similarities sort of end. But then you can also move them up and down, which generates another MIDI parameter. And you can also wibble them, like move them left to right to create pitch bend. And the pitch bend is individual per note, which kind of blows your mind a bit, but it allows you to say, when you're playing something, you could have one hand doing straight chords and then the solo at the top could be bending up and down. Now, this isn't something that you could do on a regular MIDI keyboard because you've only got that one pitch bend controller, and when you wiggle that up and down, all of the notes on the keyboard go up and down. So MPE really is a lot more powerful because it has individual note control with all of these multiple parameters. So yeah, so on a performance front, it is second to none. And any electronic performers went nuts when those keyboards came out, and pretty much everyone got one. But because I am mostly a sort of mouse guy, mostly in the DAW, apart from on the odd occasion where I sort of normally make a course on a bit of hardware or on some kind of controller, I use it for a bit, and then slowly over time it's sort of relegated to my cupboard or being against my studio wall, and I go back to using the mouse because apparently I like it best. But yeah, these controllers make everything a lot more tactile and fun, so I definitely recommend using them as much as you can. So what we're looking at now then is whether, the question I was asking myself is, am I going to really use this MPE if I don't have a keyboard? And how much use is this to me as someone who mainly just uses a mouse? So that's what I thought we'd look at now. David, MPE is a new specification based on MIDI. MPE allows digital instruments to behave more like acoustic instruments in terms of spontaneous polyphonic sound control. Exactly. So yeah, individual note data, not just global keyboard data, and more than just velocity and aftertouch and modulation control, which is all you have on a regular MIDI keyboard. So players modulate parameters like timbre, pitch, and amplitude all at the same time. Exactly, yeah. If you've got all 10 fingers on the keyboard, then you can slide them all up and down and wibble them in all directions to create, individual note expression that is far in excess of what you can do on a regular keyboard. So we're just going to have a look at it on kind of 2 tracks here, so I can show you where it is in live. And just, some of the sorts of things that you can do with it. So let's just reduce these tracks down. And let's get sampler. Actually, I'll show you. You do have it in simpler, but I'm struggling a bit to work out how much you can do. And I don't think you can actually do very much with simpler. It says, bear in mind, there's no manual for Ableton Live 11 yet, so I do like to read manuals from time to time, and I haven't been able to do that with this one. Let's just go bass one shot, grab a bass one shot, do, grab that out, drop it onto my device chain. So I've got it in simpler now. So you can see here MPE. There it is. But what I think that means is so just seeing if my beats are worth keeping on or not. Let's get some kind of a bass line then. So let's see what my velocities are doing here. Let's just select all the notes. Velocity is really low, so the bass is so quiet. So we could apply a little bit of a random velocity to this if we wanted to. Just bring the amount right down, set it to maybe a range of 10. Just have a little bit of variation. Not always something I do with a bass line, I must say, but I just thought it'd be good to start off like that so I can show you that on top of velocity and aftertouch and these other values, you can also add MPE. So with MIDI now, you can use the clip editor here to add all this variety to the notes without having to really go into effects or automation or anything like that. You can do loads from the MIDI editor now. So there's a little bit of variation there, but not too much. Again, yeah, this is something I showed in the Live 11 tutorials, if you haven't seen them, that I've just brought out, how you can use velocity mapping to create variety in your sounds and in your bass lines. But in that instance, I was killing the velocity effect on volume and using it instead to affect things like the filter frequency. So I think all you can do then in simpler is you can come in, click on this tab here. So this is where the MPE is edited. It's on this third tab. And then you can go in and you can see now we're in this mode. We don't get velocity down the bottom anymore. We get slide and pressure, which are the MPE values. But I think on simpler, these don't really do anything, or I can't find out what they do if they do something. I certainly can't see any extra controls on simpler for assigning them. So I think all you've got really in this mode is the individual pitch bend, which is edited here. But to be honest, there's not much point in doing this on a monophonic sound because you could just use regular pitch bend. So I'm not going to show that right here. What I'll do instead, I'll double click, I'll right click, and I'll switch it to sampler. That was just the simpler to sampler option there. So now we got sampler, and in sampler now, if I click on the MIDI tab, you can see we now have all these other options. So we have slide, we have press, and we have note PB. So these are the three kind of main ones on the instrument. So it means let's just do a few different things then. So we could map, say, the filter. Just show you a simple example at first. So we take the filter down, go to MIDI, and then we map, say, to slide the filter frequency right up. And then when I come into the editor here, when I click on each note, I can now just bring this slide amount up. And you can see, I'll just keep playing it and then edit these values so you can hear. So you can hear not the most exciting type of modulation, but you can hear there it's modulating that parameter. And let's just go with maybe shaper. Let's turn on the shaper, turn up the amount to max. Obviously it's very distorted now. Just keep it quite nasty sounding just so you can really obviously hear it. And then here I could go with press, same thing, shaper amount, turn it up to max. So then you've mapped that parameter to press, and then double click on the clip, same deal, click on the individual notes and then just adjust their press values. Then you can hear now the shapers going up and down, as well as that filter cutoff, respective to where I've set those individual values there. So maybe go for 4-bit. Slightly more obvious there, just ramping up the resonance and changing it to the 4-bit shaper type. You can now hear that kind of modulating going up and down. So that's 2 of the parameters there, slide and press. So let's get a new track here and look at wavetable. Wavetable, fantastic wavetable synth. And now with this MPE, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So let's, are we just in C here? Yeah. So let's now solo this track, do some chords. I'll just draw something in. C minor, very exciting. Wait, what did I do? Oh, it's a sample, isn't it? Of course, I dragged it in from Loop Cloud, forgetting the technique that I showed everyone in my Live 11 tutorials, which was to, when you're browsing for samples, to select C here and have it auto-tune the sample for you. But it hasn't got its pitch on the sample name, so I'm going to have to do it by ear. It's okay. Needs to come down a couple of semitones. There you go. So go back to our chords here. I'm just trying to think of some vaguely interesting chords to move to here. C, F. Like a diminished chord that sounds awful, but okay, sounding all right. Again, I'm not going to really bother with how cool a chord sequence it is right now. Let's just get into the kind of MIDI editing, which is what I wanted to show you. So let's just choose an interesting wavetable here. It's a bit sort of squeaky and high-pitched. Let's go with retro. Okay, it's got some nice kind of things going on there. So we could now go in and what should we map? So let's map this parameter, which is something you often sort of map to an LFO or an envelope, which you do here in the matrix by just adjusting it first and then bringing up the value on that parameter like LFO. However, doing that obviously means it's global across all of the sounds there. So what I might do instead is map it to, in the MPE section, map it to, well, it's already mapped actually to slide. So I can come in now and I can use the slide in the MPE edit section to set these individual notes to different positions through the wavetable. So I could have this G note, oops, undo that. Now I've selected this G note, you could have the slide value up here, say. And you also don't have to have it fixed. Maybe that note's a bit high, let's go with the low one. So just for the C's here, we could be moving up and down. Sounds a bit weird. So this is going to get quite strange in sound design. It might not yield brilliant results because I'm literally just kind of playing around with the curves here just to show you what you can do. But bring all the notes down, get back into the note edit, select them all. So you can hear there, just the low notes, there's the C's and the A are like modulating through the wavetable, but the rest are staying fixed. So you can get as complex as you like with it here. We can have the D sort of, you know, doing something else in the middle. So it's pretty cool, isn't it? I hope you think this is pretty awesome. I mean, the level of detail you can have there, where before I've shown you these sorts of techniques for, oh yeah, you can modulate, you know, using envelopes when the notes are played to go through the wavetable. You can use an LFO, but now you can do it down here in the clip editor with each individual note, step through that parameter. And that's just the slide. So now we could do something else with the pressure.